Good evening, folks. Welcome, welcome. This is the last Halloween special that we're doing. And okay, all right, let's address this. This is the 9th of November. Not the most punctual. Let's just get out the way now. Yes, indeed, for a Halloween special, this is late and gay. It is late and not straight. It is punctuality deserted, presenter inverted, arrival belated, fellows felated. I put my hands up, yes, late and gay. Sorry about that. But real life sometimes does mess with your stream schedule. So I hope you'll forgive me and we'll have a fun time anyway on this little fun solo stream. Good to see so many regulars in here. Hello, Dr. Prepper. Hello, Mr. GB. Yes, the proper Chi variety hour. Yeah, this will be good. This will be good. Lawrence, hello. Mergut, I saw was in the chat. Tasteful thickness, very good to see you. Jakester, early on, giving some interesting background detail. Very, very much appreciated. We'd love a Lovecraft reference around here. Wonderful stuff. Wonderful stuff. And of course, Dylan Roth, thank you so much for signing up as a member and immediately abusing the Scottish. You fit in around here. I know you do. Excellent stuff. And hello, Lawrence, sending in a. Well, hang on. Now you confused me. What Saturday stream? What? Hang on. No, surely not. No, surely not. You can't mess with my head like this. Not when we're talking about a film like this, so focused on confusion. You can't throw me off like that. You genuinely caused a panic there, Lawrence. My goodness. Oh dear. That actually caught me out. Thank you for the £2. Devious and early. Very much appreciated. Well, okay, yes, as I said, Sunday stream closing off the Halloween specials. This is one that the members voted for. We had a little, what would I call it, sort of Big Think? Was this in the Big Think selection or the Classy selection? I actually can't remember at this point. But my goodness, I am glad we got it. I think Mandy was the main competition, and I'm really surprised Mandy didn't win. Yeah. Well, damn you, Maverick. Oh gosh, this you are making me think of the kind of I don't want to have a go at it, but something Dylan said did make me sort of rethink my potential ratings for this film. That is there a problem with psychological horror when we slap on the label psychological horror to a film? Are you basically going in thinking like, okay, is it the protagonist is the killer, but has a split personality, or is the protagonist the killer, but they mind wiped themselves? Because it's kind of one of the two, isn't it? Just saying. No. It's maybe we shouldn't think about that too hard. If you start talking about predictability in horror, you get into you get into rough waters pretty quickly. I don't want to break out my martini analogy again. You probably already know it. We'll sail on past that. Although I will note, folks, I do have a martini right here. Plymouth Gin, Navy Strength, Noily Pratt, lovely. Can't hit that too hard over the course of this. This could be confusing enough as we go. All right. Lovely stuff. And Mr. GB, thank you so much. An unpaid super chat. Well, do not worry. It's paid for, in the way that the NHS is free, isn't it, Mr. GB? The money comes out every single month. But you might as well get the benefit. So thank you very much. And you are, of course, as we know, my longest member. And I know you love me saying that. Oh, hang on. I know we've got a film to discuss, but I didn't realize the Tasteful Thickness actually had good martini opinions. Absolutely. Martini with a pickled onion, a Gibson martini. Yes, the superior martini. I'll accept people who want to make a case for a Vespa martini in summertime, obviously. But you can't always get it. Not many places stock the Lillet Blanc, and but a Gibson you can usually get made. Very nice. Very good taste. Well done. Let's see. Lawrence feeding on the problem of psychological horrors. It's the same twist as the director's subsequent film, The Machinist. Yeah, kind of not to spoil that very old movie, but yes, it's a part of, kind of combines the two twists. We shouldn't be unfair, but you know, it's going to be one or the other twists, isn't it? It's one of the two. Anyway, yes, folks, we are. I shouldn't start cocktail chat. Let's be professional for this cozy Sunday stream that hopefully is rounding off a lovely weekend for you. Yes, channel members voted for this. I'm so pleased they did. This is a great one to discuss. As a Silent Hill fan, this is a bit of a treat. Very much enjoying that one. If you're enjoying this commentary, if you're happy that we are covering this, or that I am covering this, I blame this film. Then do all the stuff that tells YouTube that this is enjoyed content. So do the liking, the subscribing, the leaving of comments, and if you want to go above and beyond, you can of course follow in the good steps of Dylan and Mr. GB and become a channel member. Then you can vote on Halloween specials and many other things, or just leave a super chat. It's very welcome. So you can support the channel either here or on Subscribestar. I'll move on, as I want to keep this nice and concise. I don't want to ramble too far into your Sunday evening or Sunday morning, as the case may be, a Mr. GB. We are covering Session 9 tonight. I'm sure there'll be some good input from you folks, because this is a film that I think you can dig quite into. There's a lot of sort of The Thing style subtleties you can unpack if you want to really go into subtle foreshadowing of when and how things occurred. You can get into that detail. That requires a much closer reading. I'll give you a little bit of an overview. I'll give you some of the stuff I picked out of this. I'll maybe try and tell you some of what's going on and some of what is not going on in the film. You probably read a fair bit about this film being compared to The Shining, or it being an atypical psychological horror or haunting film, in that it's not so much a haunted asylum. It's more of a genius loci thing. Any of you seen this, the genius loci? I bet you did. Samson too busy, Mogu. Alas, yes, we did want to cover this with Samson. Unfortunately, he's in Japan. We could not make the timing work, but we'll hopefully get him on again, because I want to see what Samson's film degree resulted in. Aren't you curious? I want to know. I want to know what a British film studies degree gets you in terms of commentary. Yes, very likely a weeb. We'll find out. He's a lovely guy. I want to see what the analysis is. So, yeah, have you guys heard the genius loci theory for this? In case you didn't, it's kind of an interesting one. And I think possibly where we get a little bit of the nods to The Shining. Other things that might cause the nods to The Shining, if I can find my screen caps. Where are we? Things like this, we are talking about a movie that is largely focused on people breaking down mentally, people, set in an old, huge institution that's very isolated. And you've got your days sort of time stamped in chapters, just like The Shining. Except it's not really, is it? It's very different, really. If we're just going to focus on the sort of timestamp chapters alone, they're done very differently. Here, we're really just getting a kind of countdown to where we are in the week. It's very linked to a deadline. So now wondering, should I have given you the plot recap first? We'll get to it. Something really driving the movie is a pair of ticking clocks. So one of them, the very literal plot driver, is that due to a sort of desperation to make sure a contract is won, a asbestos removal company promises they can do a big job on a abandoned, condemned mental hospital in only a week. So when you see these chapters, it's Monday, then it's Tuesday, but you kind of know time is ticking away. There's a big pressure. The big deadline is hitting. They have to get things done by the next Monday. Can they make it? Their sort of doom is approaching, really. But and to compare that with The Shining, the reason the chapters are used in The Shining is not about giving you direction, it's about giving you misdirection. The chapters in The Shining are non-chronological, they are inconsistent. So you go from, the interview to closing day to Tuesday, backwards to Thursday. The point of the chapters is to throw you off and make you unsure of where you are, which is part of the overall theme of The Shining, of making people feel lost, like they're in a maze. So kind of direct opposite purpose. Things like that make me feel like it's really only the aesthetics that people are drawing on for the comparison to The Shining. Like the aesthetics are there, but I feel if we're looking at purpose, something very different is going on. You can't just rely on that, or a character called Wendy not doing too well, or a big focus on wanting to come home, just like Jack is saying, Wendy, I'm home. You need a little bit more, don't you? Yes. So I want to step over that. One of the things that also comes from the Shining comparison is this genius Loki idea. We're finally back to it. And that is the idea of a ghost that isn't so, well, let's not say ghost, let's say a spirit. A spirit that is not derived from a past person, a dead person, but from a place, the nature of a place. And it can be quite benevolent, or it can be somewhat spooky. A place of great horrors and torment will give rise to its own sort of malevolent spirit, which will be the genius loci of that place. And the idea that tends to come up when people talk about this film is that the genius loci of the asylum, all the atrocities that have happened throughout time, have created something that can then possess and cause disorder. And yet, I'm not sure that is supported by this movie. I think there is something else happening here. Oh, shall we? I don't know, folks. Do you want the happy skeleton gone? Do you like Happy Skeleton? I quite like him. I think we had him for Halloween as a bonus. So I quite like him. We could go for Nick 30 Yarns if we want. Can I get Nick 30 Yarns on? I cannot. I need to pay. Oh, boo. All right, I'm going to take... we'll take Dancing Skeleton off. I liked it. Oh, hang on. No, people like him. Good. He's back. Hello, Dancing Skeleton. There you go. Oh, he's fab. He can move side to side if you want him to. Oh, no. No, he can't. I shouldn't get distracted by this. We don't have too much time. God. Russell T. Trombone. Can I call you Russ? Yes. It's an extended Halloween season. Yes, just because of my schedule. My goodness. Yeah. I hope you bear with me as I do this. I am going to switch the StreamYard back over though, because it's freaking me out when it moves on to the other side. We'll keep the skeleton and we'll keep the duck above it. There we go. All right. Where were we? Genius Loci. Oh yeah. So the idea is that this is a kind of how did Mergut say? Not so much haunted as a place is somewhat sentient. Yeah. Now, that is very much going on in The Shining. This I'm not so much. I'm not so sure. Why am I not so sure about that? Well, because the film tells us quite directly that people felt the effect of the malevolent influence here. They felt the effect of it long before they ever came to the asylum here, the what shall we call it? The Danvers State Hospital. Quite a storied history there. Quite a storied history. So we have a big focus on Mary Hobbs, who is a patient whose case files, whose recorded therapy sessions form the other ticking clock of the film. Hey, we're rounding off that point that I nearly forgot. You know, your film is called Session 9. You start listening to Session 1. Oh my goodness, you already built up what's going to happen in Session 9. It's good stuff. That's the other ticking clock running in the movie. So Mary Hobbs, her case, we're aware of that, and she comes to the asylum after she does the big old crime that we find out about, right? And likewise, we can be reasonably sure that our boy, whose name I have immediately forgotten, Gordon, God, they only say it about 500 times in the movie. Gordon, we're pretty sure he's done everything before he even comes here, right? So the idea of a genius loci in the hospital being responsible for it, I don't see it. I don't go for it. I don't go for it. So what else might be happening here? Maybe I can make sense of that for you. I've got a couple of ideas of things that the film tells us, mostly through imagery. We'll get there. Can I do a quick check for the people watching? And by the way, hello also all you wonderful people on the replay who I tend to forget every time because I'm awful. You wonderful people, please also like. Very much appreciate that. Leave a comment if you're happy that we're covering this film. Where was I with this? No, lost it. I was going to ask you guys, have you actually watched this? Do you want a big plot summary, or do you just want a concise one? Because I'll see how I go for this. My instinct is you guys have probably seen this maybe a couple of times. I wouldn't say it's the most well-known horror, but then you guys are not the most casual horror fan. You guys are impressively, I was going to say well-read. What's it? Well-viewed? Well-viewed doesn't sound right, because I know certainly a lot of us are not very well-viewed, especially if people read our Twitters. So I think you're probably going to say, okay, we'll do a Guinness pour. We'll do a short one for you folks. I mean, heck, we've already given away the twist, but as I said, you've got a 50% chance of guessing it, just knowing it's a psychological horror. Yeah, this I think it's got a cult reputation, but this was not a big hit. Influential, yes, but not a big hit for the 1.5 million that they spent to make this. They raked in a deep breath 1.6 million box office, so it's just not justified, is it? This really should have been the Paranormal Activity of its year, just sort of blown up. Never mind. But it is very interesting that this comes out from Brad Anderson, who's a guy who had focused on sort of light, fluffy, romantic comedies. And then he gets a chance. He does this and suddenly he flips to horror. Like, he's tried other things. Obviously, you gotta work. You've gotta bring home the bread. But the guy who liked quite light, fluffy stuff, first 3 features were all light romantic comedies, comes out with this dark, brutal horror. Ugh. And then sticks with the genre afterwards. It's an interesting one. We should also say it's not just that he directed it and wrote it. He also was supported in writing it by Stephen Jeverden. Interesting. Where have we got him? We got a little one of him here. There is co-writer of the film, Stephen Jeverden, and can you believe it, guys? Surely, a first time in Hollywood, a writer has cast themselves as the smart guy who figures everything out. You know, just smarter than anyone else he's working with. Can you believe that? Crazy stuff. I don't know. Man. I wonder if it makes it hard to relate to other Hollywood screenwriters when you do that. I'm having a joke. I like this movie. I like the people in it, but I couldn't. You got to bully these screenwriters occasionally. You got to throw something their way. Anyway, so what is going on here? Let's give you the quickest overview. We'll give you the Guinness pour. Let's see if I can do it in a minute. Effectively, Gordon, who runs a small asbestos removal company, is absolutely up against the wire and makes an extremely ambitious bid in order to win the contract on the Danvers State Hospital to strip out the asbestos. He promises that even though his, I'd say, closest working partner, Phil, on the left there, thinks it's a 3-week minimum job, he promises 2 weeks. Later, when he gets the sort of decision maker outside, stressed, hasty, nervous, he says, actually, they can do it in 1. He is tense about it, and we feel nervous about it. We feel nervous pretty much any time we're in the hospital. It is a huge facility. It is run down. It is creepy. They actually really didn't need to do much of it at all. It just looked awful. It was already creepy as hell, and they found all the props they needed, basically, around already. There's 1 or 2 things they added, but basically, this creepy-looking place is as they found it. Shocking. It is ripe for scares as they're going around. But as they go around the facility, as they try and take out this toxic asbestos, something where just literally the atmosphere alone is poisonous. What could they mean by this? They all start to feel the effects. Every one of the crew starts to feel tense, starts to get jittery, get nervous, starts to behave a little unlike themselves. The tensions mount, they turn on each other, and Gordon starts to particularly feel the stress. We see that he is, particularly concerned about his new daughter, his wife. We see him hang outside the home looking tense. He doesn't seem to ever go home, and he later confesses to Phil that he has hit his wife in a moment of tension when she managed to accidentally pour boiling water over him. Gordon gets even more stressed as they go on, but that deadline approaching, it's not all that. It's not all the deadline. And then, as you may expect, the crew start getting picked off, starting with porn star version of Sean Penn here. I don't think it's unfair. Once they're getting picked off, they're literally picked off. I didn't intend that, but I appreciate it. As I go around, everyone's getting spooked out until eventually everyone is offed, and we find out that actually, surprise, surprise, it has been Gordon the whole time. Where is he? Let's go with this one. It has been Gordon the whole time doing it. But that's sort of the bare meat and bones of it, because there's a little bit more going on. As we mentioned, there are a series of tapes discovered, interviews with Mary Hobbs, a patient with whom Gordon seems to have a bit of an overlap. He will start to mirror her. He will start to be drawn to her. He will find himself, inexplicably drawn, like when he comes out here and he's sort of drawn out to the graveyard almost by a trance. And there's, if people want to do this Shining comparison, I'll give them this one. There is a weird moment where you really can't follow the geography of where he is once he is drawn down a little tunnel and a bridge with crosses on it. He seems to come out almost where he started, which is really weird. But he acts as if he's drawn in a trance, and he ends up sitting here on a tree right over Mary Hobbs's grave. The similarities, starting to see a heck of a lot in common between the two. If you want something else that's a little more subtle, because they did kind of hammer this home, you've seen Mary Hobbs's patient number really early on. I think it's like 25 minutes on or so. You've seen she's patient 444. All the patients, when they die, are given numbers. He's sitting over the grave, and they give you a prompt reminder like BT Dubs, Mary Hobbs was 444, and then you see he's sitting over 444. It's a little heavy-handed, but there's a subtler one that I really liked. When Mike, gotta remember Mike, who is played by the screenwriter, is going through Hobbs's file. There's like a test that she's done, a word association test, and it's like sleeves, tree, rocker, and it's like tree, rocker. Your man does end up sort of sitting on a tree like it's a chair. A little bit of foreshadowing there. I quite like that. That was good. That was good stuff. So we've got these nice touches, and the interviews from Mary play over the film, increasing that tension. They are really atmospheric. Some people might sort of scoff early on. I could see you could lose someone a little bit earlier as you get the voice actor going through different voices, doing the princess voice. So Mary had dissociative identity disorder. I'm a little interested in that. Like, would they have called it DID in the 1970s when this is recorded? I don't know. I would have thought it would have been multiple personality disorder back then, but I'll admit I haven't looked this up. Basically, we know that she killed her family, and she's developed these alter egos that basically the therapist wants to help her connect with so that she can understand what happened and then heal. But you're waiting on this mysterious identity, Simon. And you're pretty sure by the end, okay, he's got to show up in session 9, right? Simon, sort of the key to things. Now, when you hear the voice actress change voice for the princess and for Billy, I could see that would be a little bit difficult. But I would imagine, for me, I think it's done well enough that you aren't really going to lose people in these. Maybe that's initially jarring, but once you've got over it, I think you're drawn in. And then these tape sessions form a wonderful intensifier over every scene they're in. I want to check what we're doing here. Have we got yeah, there we go. Dylan, a fan of the tapes. Well, I agree. I like them very much. I think one of the things I wanted to talk about this movie is how much the aesthetic is influential on Silent Hill, particularly explicitly Silent Hill 3, the Brookhaven Hospital section, also Silent Hill 4, because, Silent Hill cannot avoid having a hospital section. And I think we had wheelchairs in that as well. It's like this very infamous image here of the wheelchair comes back. Absolutely wonderful stuff. But I thought the tapes, Matt, I thought those were extremely Silent Hill. Like, just throughout the series, you encounter these stories told over several series of letters. Later, when you get to, the Silent Hill PT, oh my gosh, the tapes playing in that, like the audio excerpts in PT, my goodness, did they make me think of Session 9. But I think like the general vibe of that, Silent Hill, very much inspired by that. And it's not going to be ashamed of that at all. One of the things that's really interesting in Silent Hill, this like quintessential Japanese product, is how much it is absolutely explicitly a love letter to American horror creations. Obviously, I'm English, but you feel a sort of sense of Anglo pride nevertheless. Just seeing another culture pick up something that your folks created and absolutely run with it, giving you a like weird outsider perspective on the horrors and of course the works of David Lynch. But it's a really cool thing to see. And Session 9 then coming in and like, again, direct inspiration. after Silent Hill 2 was so very drawn from David Lynch, especially, Lost Highway. Them turning to Session 9 for more inspiration, I think, is really cool. And whereas the tasteful thickness has given us the fact check we hoped for. DID was with the DSM-4 1994. Okay, if that is correct, if that is correct, then yeah, I'm right to have found that a bit weird. Maybe fact check me. Maybe it came in earlier, but you're told explicitly that the hospital closed in 1985. So notes from the late 70s talking about DID seems a little off to me. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. I caught that. So as we're talking about, the sessions with Mary have these parallels to Gordon's life. He will increasingly sort of parallel her. We start off with some great creepy stuff where she is a creepy photo montage in her room. He is absolutely fascinated by that, and there's so much in there that you can look at here. We'll draw a bit more from this as we go on. There's some less subtle stuff in here, but I don't know if anyone would really pause for it. But I had a little look, and there's some things I like you have to pause and read the headlines, obviously. So, a man of peace, an act of violence. Oh, Gordon, what could that be referring to, my dude? And also, one saying, because my heart belongs to daddy. Odd one. Later on, Gordon will, of course, make his own collage on the wall, and he is going to... Well, we're already spoiling the film. Let's just say it. The whole quest of the movie is you want to find out what Simon has to say. Simon, the third alter ego that Mary is influenced by. Later, we are going to find out very explicitly, undeniably, that Gordon is also speaking to Simon. Simon is influencing him, controlling him. And what's going on there? The movie is going to give us an interesting thing. Hang on, what is this? Always Sunny meme? What have we got? Oh, I don't know the Always Sunny meme. I don't know. You lost me on that. Oh dear. All right. They are so we find out that Simon is speaking to him, is controlling him, and Simon isn't an alter. Simon is a malevolent spirit. And because you people are too annoyingly smart, Dr. Prepper got in ahead of me. Dr. Prepper got in ahead. Well done. Okay. I did a little unpicking. I think this is where I can give you a fair bit of value on this film. As I said, I don't like the Shining comparison. I don't really like the Genius Loci explanation. I initially found it quite interesting when I was looking at this, and then on my rewatch, it just didn't work for me. It does not make sense with what we've got in the film. So what do we possibly have from the film that might explain it? We'll start with this, and then we'll draw a little bit more out of it. Because there's some lovely stuff that we get at the start of the film that also might explain a bit of what's going on. So yeah, absolutely. Why is he called Simon? Why is the malevolent spirit called Simon? Well, yeah, Simon gives the orders. Simon says. Absolutely, 100% why that name is in there. There's another thing which we'll get onto, but that is really important. We are set up in the therapy sessions that we hear from Mary that the princess lives in the mouth. All right, if you want to make your Shining comparisons, okay, you can have that one. That is very close to Tony, who lives in the mouth. All right, I'll let you have that one. We then get to find out that Billy, the other alter ego, lives in the eyes. So even though the princess will tell you everything, there's something she doesn't know because she isn't seeing. Whereas Billy, who lives in the eyes, oh, that meme, I get you. Thank you, Mergu. Billy, who lives in the eyes, is able to see everything, so he has a lot more of the information. So you start wondering, like, okay, well, where would Simon live? Simon's got to live, presumably, in the hands, right? I mean, there's only one more person there, so it's got to be in the hands. Simon lives in the hands. That's what you're expecting. That's what you're set up for. You're probably feeling very clever. And then you get a bit of a rug pull because Simon is not just an alter, he is something else. Where he does tell you where he lives. He tells you very explicitly at the end that he lives in the weak and the wounded. He moves around. And as he is telling you this, the camera, for like the first time in the film, is airborne and is flying around. Like literally, it's gliding, it's banking, it's moving side to side. It's giving you the impression of, well, a bird, something flying through the air. It's around the hospital, but it's not bound to it. So yeah, you get the feeling that Simon is actually this free spirit that is able to go around and seek whoever he needs to. Wherever he finds the weak and the wounded, he can get in there and influence them. And Simon says, he can make them do what he wants. Where else might that show up in the movie? Well, how about this wheelchair? Why do we keep seeing a wheelchair over and over in this movie? Why do we see the wheelchair so often after we hear one of the tapes? Why does it kick off the film? Why do we start with it? Why do we start with an image of the wheelchair and then tie it directly by name to the session where we hear Simon? Well, you have to ask, what does a wheelchair do? It's not about comfort. It's about purpose. It's a lack of control. If you are using a wheelchair, particularly this one, someone is moving you. It is a symbol of them being puppeted by Simon. That's a nice little one there. What else do we get? Well, we get something on the tapes where the therapist is asking, I believe it's Billy, asking the Billy alter, what did Simon do to Peter? What did Simon do to Peter? Now, this was a bit of an odd one. This threw me off. I might be... How can I say, folks? I've got a reading of this film that I half believe and half disbelieve. It may be nonsense. I want you to tell me if it's nonsense, okay? There's a little bit of a biblical thing going on here. What did Simon do to Peter? Well, if you read your Gospels, you'll know that Peter is Simon Peter. So what did Simon do to Peter? Well, Simon Peter, that's the same person, right? It's the same person. This idea that maybe this is just trying to get you the idea of the split personalities in advance of Gordon finding it. Maybe that's what's going on here. Maybe I'm tinfoiling. I don't know, but it... Oh, yeah. See, I'm not the only one who got there. See? Brilliant. Thank you. I don't feel so tinfoil now. Yes. But yeah, I think it's... I don't think that's an accident. If you're talking about two people under one name, I could see it. But Simon might not actually be the relevant name we're thinking of. Maybe we need a different name that begins with S. Maybe we could look in the rest of the movie and maybe get a bit of a clue. I don't know. This is awkward because there we go. How about this? How about Satan? Now, is this the easiest thing to go for, that this is actually talking about satanic possession, that Simon is actually the devil possessing them in a, absolutely, secular, godless time? None of these chaps really expresses much interest in any of that stuff. Would it be easier for Satan to get in and cause a bit of havoc? Could be. Throughout the movie, if you just look at some of this graffiti, I've only picked out this one, but you can get multiple ones where there is like a horned being behind a door that's quite subtle towards the end. You can get the guy giving them a guide, standing in front of a pentagram. There is quite a lot of satanic graffiti all over the facility, all over it. Is that an accident? Well, I don't know. But if it's trying to plant it in your head that maybe the influence of Simon is actually the influence of Satan, but no one picks up on it, I don't know. Maybe the movie is trying to put that in your head. Well, I like that, and I thought that was kind of a cool idea. But there is something that speaks directly against that. We need to remember. Well, where's my boys? Let's get my boys up, all horsing around together. Where's the ice pick scene? Yeah, we'll go for that. This will work for us. Lawrence saying it would be interesting to know whether they added the graffiti or if it were already there. I mean, yes, it would. It would be very useful to know. But it's like not. It's not uncommon that people would be edgy boys and put satanic stuff up there, but I don't know, man. They really liked getting the camera on it. They really liked getting the camera all over it. So happy accident, maybe. I don't know. I just think it's in there. But what's one of the problems with it? One of the problems is that the screenwriter character himself basically gives us a tale way back from the days of the Satanic Panic of the 80s. A tale of a girl who claims to have been severely abused, brutally, awfully, horrifically abused in like some really sort of further than Dennis Wheatley stuff, like really grim, rich incest rituals, right? And then finding out that is just an entirely made up, implanted memory. So this film is that the film kind of getting there, saying actually your worries of satanic stuff would be, well, yeah, let's say debunked indeed, Dr. Prepper. Is this film saying no to satanic explanations? What do you reckon? That's it. That's the thing that throws me off from this theory, that this is actually a very subtle, undercover satanic possession movie. And I would love it if it works. I think that would be kind of nice that they did that and it just didn't fill all the tropes, that we didn't, not that I wouldn't like Jerry Goldsmith's Ave Satani blasted out, we never get sick of that. But it would just be nice if they did it without all the tropes playing in, undercover. But It's the only thing that gives me pause is them explicitly including a story where that didn't happen, where the satanic thing was explicitly debunked and not there. So that's what makes me unsure about reading it into the movie, but I do find it quite persuasive. One thing I really like from this scene, by the way, and this isn't the scene where you're hearing the horrible details, but it's a nice one where you catch a little detail. We already know Gordon is the guy actually doing all the offing, but he's watching absolutely intently as our screenwriter slash actor here is trying to spook his nephew with a little demonstration of how you would do a lobotomy. He's watching very intently, like he is picking up this knowledge. He's going to use that later, you know. So that is a cute little detail from the scene. That's why I saved it. You know, there are these lovely little details in this film that you can pick up on. Things like, yeah, the Simon Peter, the Simon Says thing, how to understand the wheelchair. Yeah, I'm just looking for people saying absolute tin foil, but I think I've got away with that. Oh. Lawrence saying he actually wandered around an abandoned asylum with some friends as a child and was covered in graffiti. Would not be surprised. Tends to be what you uncover when you do any urbex. Graffiti absolutely everywhere. Very much they did have a problem with it. It was, you know, regularly raided. Parts of this building, by the way, now demolished. Other parts of it, would you believe it? Fancy ass apartments. Yeah, fancy apartments. I mean, to me, that just would you would you get a flat in a previous insane asylum? I don't know. I'm not that superstitious, but oof, not a fan of it. Not a fan of it. I wouldn't go there myself. Something I did not mention, by the way. If this film looks a bit weird, if you're like, is that really terrible copy there? This is how it looks. We've got to remember this is 2001. So this is a very, very early shift to digital cameras, which is why it looks like this. But it pulls it off very well. It gives you that sense of immediacy. Something else that really helps them. When they had the credits going for this, I saw the name Uta Brishevitz, and except let's pretend I didn't mangle that. Uta Brishevitz. Where do we know that? We know that name from every episode of The Wire. So the same wonderful person who did all the photography for The Wire did this movie. How cool is that? You can really also see the carryover, can't you? You really can. Oh, hello very much. Hello, Pose Lord. Very good to see you. I think I remember you being a fan of this one. Were parenting duties not in the way? It would be. I'd love to hear you chat about it. Bring back the PO box. You know, that's what I want to see. Anyway, so yeah, early days switch over to digital filmmaking. So just like 28 Days Later, it's a bit shocking, but you get used to it, and it gets this great sense of immediacy. Makes you maybe think of like home video, which really pays off in some scenes. One that's going to particularly come to mind for people, I think, will be Hank trying to escape. Do I have the one of him? Basically, he gets honeypotted, finding a whole bunch of old coins. Here we go. Where is he? There you go. Poltergeist Pachinko pays out, and he's just hauling off with them. This is one of those scenes where it seems almost like weirdly comical. It's close to the line of being comical, just how many things come out there. But yeah, he's focused on the money. That is what lures him in. There are some other Okay, I was wondering how am I going to phrase this? Mushekels. Okay, this maybe would have been something I touched on a bit later, but the I don't think it holds up. But there is a little something to this about. I suppose if you want to try and do the Shining comparison, right? If you want to try and do the Shining comparison, where there is a very legitimate case that the Overlook has some partial symbolism about being America and about the treatment of the Native Americans, that is in there. That is a justified reading of the film. It's part of it. There's a, I don't know, I got a little bit of a vibe from this that maybe this film was hinting occasionally at the Danvers State Hospital, representing in a little way certain large-scale tragedy of the 20th century. During World War II. You may have heard of it. Just the little things. Okay, so like all these coins are pouring out, basically from a crematorium, right? You see on the other side of this wall, it's a crematorium. You see immediately before that, there's like teeth in there. There's wedding rings, immediately just attached to a number. Anyone who dies, they just get a number. So it's like, is this talking about the large scale Eastern European tragedy? But I don't know, because I'm looking at this wedding ring and I just feel more it's meant to make you think of Gordon. Also, I did the freeze frame on this just so we could see if there was any tasty details, but no, you got someone from 1893 dying 1905, so it's like, that's not really lining up. The name isn't really, like typically Jewish, so I'm not seeing the connection. So even though you find teeth in that, I don't know, I don't see it. But this scene did make me wonder if they were getting there, but I just don't think it was supported by the rest of the movie. I thought I'd highlight it for you. I like to do failed readings as well as successful readings. Must be Bitcoin mining it. Well, if you were mining it in 2001, I mean, you'd be 8 years early, but just think of the ground game. I'll just leave the customary 1 minute for everyone to just remember how early they could have bought in and how loaded they would be now if they'd bought in when they first heard it. Let's all just do that wistful sigh together. That. All right, good. We've moved past it, folks. Don't kick yourself. You can buy in now. It's fine. It's probably not too late. Details that we've frozen on. This maybe not so helpful. There's other stuff that I selected that I thought might be quite useful. Where was it? When we get the look over the collage in Mary Hobbs' room, we kind of immediately go over to a collage of Gordon's own photos. If we're not waiting too long to start seeing the parallels between them. And I thought this was a beautiful moment of creepiness. Obviously, the tapes are creepy as hell. But my goodness. Lawrence saying, I bought early. How else do you think I managed to send you a £2 super chat each week? Well played. Very well played. See, I've kicked you all off now. You're all thinking it. Oh, I remember I was sitting in some gimpy hipster cafe in Hoxton, and I was reading about a guy who paid for Bitcoin. Sorry, for pizza with a Bitcoin, Oh, I remember they had a Bitcoin machine there, and I thought, wow, oh dear, if only it caught on, eh? And that would have been what? Crikey. 2013 or so. Goodness me. See, I've caught myself in the what if loop here. We've got to get out of here, folks. We can't ponder on Bitcoin forever. Can't do it. Can't do it. We've got to move on, folks. Anyway, so Gordon's perusing these photos. We then kind of quickly move over to his own photos. There are some details in these that I absolutely loved. You're told that his daughter was kind of unhappy at the christening, but first off, you see her as hollering, but my goodness, just look at this. You get a nice zoom on there. Look at the hand. Look at his wife's hand there. That isn't like that is a tense grab. Seeing that, like, oh God, that puts a wind up me. Just she's smiling, but it's so incongruous that her hand is absolutely like looking like it's doing a really harsh grip. And because that's a baby, you get tense looking at that. They follow it up with an even, a less subtle one, but nevertheless it's effective. A photo of the baby. Now, presumably, this is a priest doing the blessing, but I'm going to have to get Skelly off for this, aren't I? Bye, Skelly. Just for a moment. We'll have you back, lad. I don't know if this is in place much more, but this sign of, like, the hand over the head as a symbol that someone's died, this is coming in an hour or more before we actually find out he's killed his daughter. But this is just planted nice and early. Presumably, oh, brilliant. See, Lawrence, you and everyone else here, they are smart cookies, but I like to think I can bring a little bit of freeze frame autism to help you out and get details. Yeah, it's creepy as hell. It's creepy as hell. Later, there's we'll go back to it. It's almost like it's not even her hand. Like, look at the coloration. It almost looks like it's someone else's hand. It throws you off. And that might sound like a little tinfoil, but later in the movie, when Gordon is looking dead at the camera, he's just done his final kill, and he sort of smears blood down his face. I've watched that a couple of times, just like trying to work out, is that actually the actor's hand as well? Or is it someone else's hand pulling his face to kind of have this uncanny look, right? It's this great bit of uncanniness. Yeah, I loved it. It's a great little detail. Early on, these are creeping you out. They are giving you the symbols you need that it's already, they're already dead. It is deeply, deeply unsettling stuff. Now, oh, you cheeky bugger, Lawrence. Quiet or I'll do a gay reading just to spite you. We don't have to spend too long on it, but a guy does meet a very sticky end going down a tunnel full of rubbers. I'm just saying, all right. If you aren't, by the way, if you're only listening to this and not looking at the screenshot, that'll look a bit weird. I am, of course, jesting, but I kept this up just because I thought this was wonderfully creepy. This is one of the sets they did actually have to dress, but it is, oh no, it's haunting. It's haunting. It's uncanny. Maybe we talk about uncanny a little bit. I don't know. Maybe we could. I don't know if I do that. I have this stream with Simon Roberts. We talked about Freud's The Uncanny. We unpacked it a fair bit, so I don't want to overdo it, but I'm just saying something like this. Like a wheelchair demands to be sat in, you wonder who it's for. All of these, they crave a person, you wonder. Like people will just keep getting lost in this building, and they encounter the wheelchair over and over again. It's almost like, how do I keep running into it? You've got lost and that thing keeps reappearing. It is very much like Freud's admittedly very funny story in The Uncanny, where he gets lost in a foreign city and keeps running up against the same alley full of hookers. It just made me think of that. But yeah, it gives you an uncanny effect when you keep seeing that. Here, you're kind of mentally primed from many, many other horror movies that you're expecting a buggen to come out and jump out at him, you're expecting one of these hands to grab him. Never happens, but they just sort of leave you with the expectation. You're wondering why. Why are they here? Surely those are filled. They stand in almost for a kind of symbol of, well, the puppets. The puppets that are the playthings of Simon, right? They're all stacked up here. They're ready to be filled with his spirit, and he's ready to control them. That's what these sort of stand in for down in the cupboard. Sorry, down in the tunnel. Nice bit of symbolism. Very creepy. And as I said, one of the things that they had to dress, So this is a very, very deliberate shot that they put into the movie. Good on them. One of the other really creepy things, while we're doing little details, I've just done a close-up on it. This is the Mary Hobbs file. And when Mike is first looking at it, you've got a shot of the family all together, and the girl who is Mary is a little girl. She's looking up to the right, so the right-hand page, like directing her gaze in that way, directing our gaze that way. And on the other page is Mary as she is incarcerated. So the young 14-year-old girl, all happy times, looking directly at who she would become, an incarcerated, insane murderer. The second time you see the file, the picture's changed. Suddenly, Mary isn't looking straight ahead. She's looking side on. She's looking far more skeptically. She's really giving you the death stare. It is a nice change. I don't know if that's just literally, Mike has flipped the page, but it's that sort of inconsistency that catches you out. She's kind of looking facing the little girl, but she's looking directly at you at the same time. It's unsettling, and it's a really nice little change in the details there. So I'm going to keep this kind of tight if I can. I'm not going to drag this out too long as it's a Sunday solo stream, folks. But I'd raise the possibility that this movie was very... Ooh. Okay. Darn. Lawrence, stop being clever. Stop it. Makes it very hard to impress on this channel. I've thrown out the idea that this is a very cool, subtle satanic possession movie. And we might like that, we might not like that. There is some counter evidence in the film. So if we reject that, what else might be going on here? Lawrence is ahead of the game. I do have notes on this, but you've helped me out. You've got that there. We get some early stuff that might make a bit of sense to us. All right. So early on, what's this first thing we see? It's upside down, right? This is great. This famous image, infamous image, the wheelchair in the alleyway, illuminated by a single light. Okay, obviously that's got to be a room with a light on, the only one. It's haunting. It makes you wonder, right? But it's upside down. It's topsy-turvy. The camera slowly rotates, and we get the title. The title disappears before we're fully reoriented, of course. But the key thing is we start off topsy-turvy and we move to correct. By the time we got to session 9, the world is in its right place, right? Things make sense. You come into things from the outside, everything upside down, but within the asylum, things make sense. Is the asylum representing something that had a kind of old-style sanity to it? Is it a way of finding order? However, perhaps questionable. Something the film makes a quick go of, and doesn't hammer the point too much, but it does do it, is making the point of the extremely thin dividing line between the staff and patients, between sanity and insanity. Like literally, as Hank runs down this line in a very terrifying sequence, there is literally just like a thin wire fence separating the two. So he ends up going down the patient's line, by the way, you'll note. But it's the idea that the dividing line between the sane and the insane is extremely thin, maybe unjustifiable. We won't do what were they called? Rosenbaum experiments? Rosenstern? You guys remember that one? I've talked about it before, but there was doubt thrown onto whether an insane asylum could actually recognize whether people were sane or insane. But then there's a question over whether, so they literally sent people in to pretend to be insane initially, and then try and get out, and the staff just would not treat them like they were real people, and they could not be identified as sane. The trouble is with that experiment, I'm kind of garbling it here, is it may be entirely made up, so I don't want to put too much emphasis on it. Anyway, the idea is that inside this, there may be sanity within the insane asylum. The rest of the world has gone crazy. As we found out, Mary did her killing out in the real world. She wasn't safe out there. Gordon did his killing out in the real world and then comes to the asylum. A recurring motif of this movie is people being told to come back, to come home. Now, in some way, that is Gordon sort of being told to wake up because he's been doing things. Thank you, Dylan. Rosenhahn experiment. I was just running through them, wasn't I? Rosenbaum, Rosenstern, Rosenberg and Guildenstern. You know the one. Rosenkrantz. Yeah. Rosenhahn. There we go. Thank you. There's a real true fact that many psychiatrists choose their careers to cure themselves. Yes, indeed. And Mergu, I will tell you an interesting story behind the scenes before we next stream together. Right. The idea is that people are repeatedly told in this movie, come back, come home. So that's a call sign on the radio constantly, come back, come back. We are getting told by the guard early on that people keep trying to break into the insane asylum. People turfed out keep wanting to come back. It makes sense to them. Gordon, what he wants over and over again, he keeps trying to call home. Now, there's an in-story explanation for that. He killed his wife and daughter. But his whole thing is wanting to find home, and he ends up, from what we can tell, lying about staying in a motel, but actually living here. He moves in here. This is something I think about telling you how crazy the outside world has got. It's so bad that, so moving back in here would make a bit more sense. That's something I took from that. I think we could develop that. I think there's more to it, but rather than this sort of past was completely bad reading that you can, get from everything, I don't know, man. It's it seems to be telling me like this made sense. Things made a lot more sense, and ever since, this was allowed to become completely decayed. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is all the craziness is no longer contained. It's all outside. There's another image that it was the first thing I saved from this film when I was doing my rewatch. I just paused and I caught it then and there. because I thought this image could be kind of like the key to the movie. And it's this. The movie does a lot of fades, and it shows you a lot of nature shots. And you wonder, is it contrasting like the nice flowers with this fairly imposing, stern architecture? You know, yeah, you're meant to be appalled at the contrast, but I saw like an order in it. And then we get these focuses on insects outside. And I think it was all to set up this shot where you have the massive spider over the asylum. Like, this ex-asylum is almost like the web for the spider. Anyone who gets in here has hit his web and is now his prey. You know, that is a representation of Simon right there. This massive spider waiting for prey. I thought that was super cool. Very well done. That is why I saved it instantly. Yes, caught in the web. Caught in the web. What's this? Tasteful thickness quoting, I'd rather live on the street, but I'm not crazy. Falls on your ear in a very sarcastic way from the writers, but it backs up my viewpoint. Yeah. Yeah, the idea that they would refuse to be in here. This film kind of it did something unconventional that it seemed relatively sympathetic to the asylum. I mean, Brad Anderson, he wasn't just looking for a spooky place. He was very inspired by this. He was driving by it every day repeatedly, and he's looking at this magnificent structure, and he just gets curious about it. The way they talked about it was, not exactly saying that this cured, but it seemed to be sympathetic to the fact that they had to solve a problem, that it really was a therapy center. Like, it's very dilapidated now, but you saw that they'd made it artistic. They'd tried to make it look nice. It wasn't like some kind of Dachau. It's clearly something that was designed to be aesthetically pleasing and to hopefully help people. They described it as state of the art at the time, and that might not, say much for it now. Do I ever want a treatment? I thought I'd saved one of that little creepy hydrotherapy things. I liked how weird it looked. Do I have it? I don't have it. No, apologies. I don't have the creepy hydrotherapy thing. But looking at that, I think it was, in describing it as state of the art and then implying like, well, it's crap, it's it's barbaric. It's like, well, you have to wonder, like, what does that say for us right now? I mean, that's the kind of thing I might say, in that you can't just say it's state of the art, science approves it, because you see how much science approved in the past. I don't think we are the only people to luckily be alive when the exact answers are found. Now, lots of stuff we do at the moment is not going to look too good in 20 or 30 years. Maybe you can get your own votes in there in the comments, what that will be. Don't get me banned votes. So yeah, it seemed oddly sympathetic that this was like a real need to try and do something, and that containment probably is the way to go. Maybe it was oddly sympathetic to it. It's something kind of weird that came up. I'm pulling back a really old thing from this, but I don't think this is where anyone expects this to go. But when we reviewed the 1972 Amicus Productions film Asylum, that was talking about something quite a live wire at the time. And I'd looked at what was going on in Britain, and would you believe it? Minister for Health, one Enoch Powell, was talking about asylums, and he had this really interesting view where he was basically full on. He was going full Reddit. He was saying we can close all the asylums because we've got science on the way that's going to do a big old cure. Science has got it. Trust me, the science is gonna fix it all. So it's a weird viewpoint to find from him. He was like full progressive on science, thinking it was going to do the job, and therefore, yeah, close the asylums. Yeah, weird one, very weird. I don't know if anyone expected Enoch Powell to be referenced in this, but it's one of the things that just really stuck out for me. It's like, did not expect that from him. But yeah, he was extremely optimistic on science. So yeah, I'd rather live on the street, but I'm not crazy. Yeah, I think I like to think it does back up my viewpoint, and I think outside of cases where, yeah, obviously horrible things happened as people abuse their power, I think most people were trying to do the best of a very difficult job, and this idea of turfing people out, caring the community because asylums are cruel, yeah, that didn't work well, and I think this film is very aware of it. I'm not saying this film is based or anything, but there are some unconventional things that it's highlighting, and it's a nice angle that it takes on that. Yeah, science, bitch. Jesse Pinkman, magnets, bitch. Right? Wonderful. Okay. Oh, Murgit. So Reagan closed the U.S. asylum in the 80s. Yeah, well, they say the Danvers closed in 1985, according to this, and I imagine that will be accurate. That'll be accurate. I think they demolished a lot of the apartments that they built, by the way. Some of them are still going, but some of them rather burnt down in 2009 or so. There we go. Okay, folks. Well, I pretty much worked through all my talking points there for this movie. We could go ultra deep on the analysis here, but oh, sorry, I shouldn't read chat. You're too interesting. Too interesting, chat. Don't do it. Yeah, if we're not going ultra deep dive, I will leave that there. I feel there are, if you want to do like the mega detailed look for like exactly when killings happen, you can do that. But I thought I would draw out and try and get you a few more interpretive details. I think that's where I like to live with this, is give you readings, give you interpretive assistance, and then like jam Enoch Powell references in. So yeah. But of course, this is actually a horror film, so it would probably be worth talking about. Is it actually scary? I'm going to go quite a strong yes. I mean, if you can make peanut butter scary, and you're not, actually, I'm not going to complete that joke. No, we're not going there. No dog pills. We're not doing it. If you can make this scary, you're doing a good job. You know, there are clues for people to look up, but sequences like Hank running, being chased down these tunnels, my goodness, like what in the House of Leaves is going on there? That is a heck of a sequence. That spooks you. Towards the end, when everyone's being offed and you're basically being treated to the sort of Evil Dead cam, less scary, but the pure atmosphere early on, the unsettling encounter that, oh God, what's his name? The nephew, what's his blooming name? Jeff. Yes, there we go. The unsettling encounter that Jeff has with the lobotomized Hank, and you know, the scenes of him going through tunnels in the dark. Oh my goodness, those are fab. Those actually, see, I would never make that joke, Mergu. I would never make that joke. This is too classy a channel. Anyway, I wouldn't even reference it or make a whole song. Yeah, there are some standout moments in this. It is a pretty brief movie. It mostly trends on atmosphere, but it is great to have a few proper scary sequences like they did in this. So this is genuinely effective as a horror movie, as well as just being interesting. You've got great character performances throughout. Peter Mullen is a really interesting transplant, and David Caruso, good job as well. Yeah, it's pretty darn solid. It's a creepy one. It's going to stick with you. Yes, it died in the box office, but you can totally see why this became a cult classic. The quality is there, as picked up by Silent Hill itself. The amazing FU delivery may not have been scary. Yeah, is that the FU on the stairs? Oh man, I found that. Oh, that was a weird. That was a weird. Yeah, weird bit. You know, the good delivery that basically Simon sometimes has been talking to Gordon via Phil. Very good. Okay, folks. I don't usually score the Halloween specials, but for you, I feel like doing it, so I'll trot that out now. What do I give this? Pretty high score. I wouldn't say it's like a super fun time, but it's a good watch. It's a pretty safe 9 for me. Pretty safe 9. Would I go back to it loads and loads of times? Oh, there you go. Yeah, session 9 out of 12. Yeah. 9 out of 12 burgers. It's got to be. Would I go back to it loads and loads of times? No. I've watched this, I think, 3 times. And one of those is the rewatch for this. So it's very enjoyable. It doesn't drag it out too much, so it's pretty nice. I wouldn't say I return to it too often. It's very well done, but just appreciated rarely, I would say. We got more nines coming in. 10. We've got a 10 coming in. I understand it. Well, maybe this is why it won the vote. Yeah, a solid 9 out of 12 burgers, decent amount of ketchup for a tiny, tiny budget. 1.5 million, folks. For 1.5 million, they got a pretty darn quality film out of it, didn't they? All right. That will be me. This has been the last of your Halloween specials. Curse that stomach bug that got me and stopped a fair bit of production. We actually have a few others planned. Unfortunately, what can I say? Best laid plans do not happen. But hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you have enjoyed the rest of the Halloween 2025 specials. It is nice to get to do something a bit concentrated and challenging. So thank you very much. I very much liked the system where we had channel members nominate films and then vote on them. 100% doing that again. That worked brilliantly. So, okay. Lawrence giving a different film an 8. Sense and Sensibility. Yeah. My goodness. But yes, session 9 getting a 9. Okay, good. Well, we're pretty aligned on that. That's good. I'll go for it. Yeah, this one will stick with you. You can happily recommend it to people. Will it be their number 1? Probably not, but it's a good watch. It's a good watch. Okay, folks, you can find the rest of the Halloween specials in the Halloween playlist. Give them a go. Particularly listen to me discussing Pumpkinhead with Mergu. Brilliant film. Good discussion. People seem to really like the discussion with Simon Roberts for Picnic at Hanging Rock. I don't want to play favourites, but I'm going to be very honest. I wasn't sure how that one would go. I wasn't sure, like, when that won the vote, I thought, oh, that could be a challenge. But that film was so rich. Honestly, we had to be quite disciplined to keep that under a 2-hour discussion. So highly recommended. I think that probably was the winner, just like for someone who likes to nerd out on the reaching. There was so much fuel for that in the Picnic at Hanging Rock. So do check that out. But check out all the Halloween specials and prep yourself for the November arc, which is a smattering of various Cronenbergs. We had to bump last week's stream on Existenz, so you've got another week to watch it. Catch us on Thursday. This Thursday coming up, whatever date that is. Was it 13th? 13th, we're going back to Existenz from 1999. And then we'll be moving on to a couple of Brandon Cronenbergs to complete his set for November. All right, folks, I'm probably rambling a bit. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for joining me tonight. If you've enjoyed this, obviously give it a vote upwards. That's brilliant. And if you want to be even nicer, you can leave a super thanks comment. Never say no to those, especially when I have more Patoki vodka to buy. Great stuff. All right, folks. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I hope you got a lovely week ahead for you, folks. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks, y'all. Cheers.